Brexit talks between the UK and the EU extended, despite Boris Johnson having originally set out that 15th of October deadline. We've gone way beyond that now, and it looks like negotiations are going to continue this week. I'm going to bring you all the very latest, including a potential Angela Merkel intervention. We'll have to see what the German Chancellor does. All the very latest in this report, guys. But as ever, if you could please start off by clicking subscribe and the bell. And please, guys, also let me know if you are receiving notifications for this video. I think we might have been having one or two issues with that. So let me know that if you are receiving the notifications when a new video is uploaded on this channel. That'd really help me out if you could let me know in the comments. So we start off with the City AM story. Brexit negotiations between the UK and the EU have been extended until Wednesday. Now we know, of course, that Boris Johnson set out a very public, very clear deadline of the 15th of October. Made it clear that if there wasn't effectively a deal agreed with the EU by then, the UK would move on, assume no deal, what's been referred to as Australia-style outcome, and move Australia-style arrangements, and move on. And as Boris Johnson said, the UK would prosper mightily under that sort of no-deal outcome. That hasn't happened, as we know. The talks are ongoing. That date came and went. Boris effectively said that the UK now would prepare for no deal. Lord Frost told the EU side, told Michel Barnier not to bother coming to London. Well, at the tail end of last week, Michel Barnier did come to London, and it seems now instead that negotiations are still ongoing, have been extended, and will continue this week. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. City AM saying, as the two sides hold crunch talks in the hope of hammering out a last-minute trade deal, EU chief negotiator Michel Barnier arrived in London on Thursday to restart discussions with the UK's David Frost. Talks were due to be wrapped up. However, they will now be extended for an extra 3 days in the hopes of reaching a compromise over the key stumbling blocks of fishing rights, state bailouts and level playing field guarantees. Now, Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis has said that extending the talks were a very good sign. A trade deal between the UK and the EU can now be reached. Quote is saying, the fact that Michel Barnier has outlined in the last week, or that so that we're going to come back and do these intensive negotiations, he recognises the EU do need to move now, and that he's staying through to next week is totally a very good sign. I think there's a good chance, he said, that we can get a deal, but I think it's for the EU to understand that it is for them to move as well. Now, the Telegraph get into the crux of what's going on here, and as I've reported before, a lot of this hardline approach of the EU, of French President Emmanuel Macron, essentially wanting to keep the ridiculous status quo on fisheries. But the Telegraph reporting that Brexit talks face a roadblock this week after France refused to compromise on fishing. I did a previous report, of course, at the weekend where there were rumours that the French position was shifting. In actual fact, it seems that Macron is still refusing to give any way on this whatsoever. Okay, of course, on the UK side, we don't want a puny little compromise here. This is a massive opportunity to take back full control of our waters, to really give, particularly given the economic circumstances at the moment, a real economic boost to the sort of coastal communities who saw, much of the British fishing industry wiped out over the years. This is a real opportunity to give those areas a boost. But the Telegraph saying that government sources hope Angela Merkel will intervene on the EU side, with sources close to the negotiations saying that Emmanuel Macron is still refusing to soften his stance and adopted a gregarious position on the issue. The UK has proposed adopting a similar arrangement to Norway, whereby fishing quotas would be agreed annually in shared fishing zones. However, sources said that Brussels negotiators, under pressure from France, have not moved at all, leading to fresh deadlock. The government hopes the German Chancellor Angela Merkel will manage to persuade the French president to budge. A Whitehall source said, we are relatively optimistic, but that doesn't mean it won't end in tears. Fisheries is the biggest thing. We are hoping Merkel can unlock Macron on fisheries. And of course, we wait to see on the, just because Macron moves a little bit, if the UK just jumps into a bad deal because the French Macron position moves a little bit, I know that you guys are going to be furious. You weren't very happy about the suggestion of the 3-year transition on fisheries. Now, The Sun, with another report saying the UK's hopes of a Brexit trade deal with the EU are now pinned on Angela Merkel, forcing France to back down on fishing. The German Chancellor is the best hope, it said, of getting Emmanuel Macron to soften his stance on French trawlers being allowed to take huge amounts of fish from British waters post-Brexit. The French president has admitted he's playing the bad cop, but has repeatedly said he'd be prepared to see no trade deal at all than back down on the issue, with Europe Minister Clément Beaune adding that Paris is determined to ensure the EU is really tough with Britain. This puts France at odds not only with nearly every other EU nation, but also with the EU's chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier, stressed the importance of a deal to both sides and ordered the EU to compromise. So what you may see, as this goes on a bit, is continuing EU splits if the French are increasingly isolated in terms of their position, their hardline position on fisheries being a major stumbling block to a deal being done. But I think what's been overlooked on the UK side is, okay, well, even if the French, as I say, and Macron do move a little bit, Brexiteers aren't going to want to see the British government just roll over and accept whatever the French decide to put on the table. Now, the Telegraph have one of their readers' comments, I think, actually, a guy called Simon Brady, who made a great point. He said, hopefully it is beginning to dawn on members of the UK cabinet that there is a much bigger prize to be had by no deal. Not only getting rid of the withdrawal agreement, but ultimately getting rid of the EU and replacing it with democratic countries working together. He said a massive free trade area protected by NATO without political integration. Let me know what you think about that, guys. Now, I just wanted to get to the Centre for Brexit Policy finally, because their position, they've basically got a new report explaining that unless specific steps are taken to disapply the withdrawal agreement / Northern Ireland Protocol, they will continue to apply to the UK for the long term with debilitating effects on our laws, freedom of action and sovereignty. Their paper concludes that the impact of the withdrawal agreement and the Northern Ireland Protocol on the UK's laws, freedom of action and sovereignty is ongoing, fundamentally harmful and dominant. And they say in the event of no agreement reached with the EU, a successful Australian deal will not be achievable, and the government's only viable option will be to replace or reject the WA/NIP if it wishes to deliver its manifesto Brexit commitments. Attempting to reject the WA/NIP after 31st of December, they say, will be highly problematical if the government has already agreed some form of limited deal with the EU, and their conclusion with regards to the Australian deal mirrors that of their previous paper, in which they concluded that an ongoing WA/NIP would prevent achieving a successful Canada-style deal. They say thus, as long as the withdrawal agreement / Northern Ireland Protocol remains in place, the government has no attractive options. So Brexiteers calling for much more radical action. I think what this is all pointing to at the moment, as Nigel Farage has previously said, he gave a chance of a UK-EU deal being done at 75%. But it seems to me the British government are pretty reluctant to go for no deal at the moment. They're still doing these negotiations, despite having previously set out a very firm 15th of October deadline from Prime Minister Boris Johnson himself. But we'll have to see what happens on the EU side in terms of Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron on this issue of fisheries. Let me know what you think is going to happen, guys. I have some concern, as I say, finally, that a little bit of movement on the French Macron side really isn't good enough. We need radical change. That is what we voted for. We want to take back control of our waters, not just have a slice of whatever the French decide to negotiate. That wouldn't be acceptable at all. But let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. Do you think there's going to be a deal? Do you think Angela Merkel's intervention will end up with a deal happening between the UK and the EU? Or do you think we're still headed for no deal? Let me know. And of course, as ever, guys, remember to hit that thumbs up button and support my work. Become a supporter by clicking that join button. Would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.